What's the $1 liquid that wildlife agencies in more than 24 states have banned from deer hunting? Not because it's dangerous, but because it works too well. It's pancake syrup, the log cabin bottle, the store brand sitting at Walmart for $1.25. The thing in your kitchen right now, next to the coffee maker? Before you click off thinking this is a gag, here is what a hunter on the Kentucky Hunting Forum posted after trying it. He poured one bottle of cheap pancake syrup over a mineral block on a Monday afternoon, went back Tuesday to check his trail camera, and had 36 photos of bucks on that block. 7 bucks in one frame, fighting over it. He had been hunting that property for years. He had never had 7 bucks on one camera in a single night before that visit. What changed was $1.25 of artificial maple syrup from the dollar store. This video breaks down why that happens at the chemistry level, why the company that makes Khmer deer has understood this for decades and priced their product accordingly, and why mature bucks that ignore every other attractant you've put out will commit to this setup if you start doing one specific thing 6 weeks before opening day. First, the disclaimer that matters more than anything else in this video. Food-based attractants are illegal to hunt over in more than 20 states. Illinois, Iowa, Indiana, South Dakota, Colorado, Minnesota, across 32 counties, Wisconsin and any county with an active CWD finding, Michigan and designated CWD management zones. And a growing list of others have banned food and liquid attractants because CWD spreads when deer concentrate nose to nose at feeding sites. The prion that causes CWD survives in soil for years. Every state on that list determined that concentrating deer at bait sites raised disease transmission risk enough to justify the ban. Some of those bans come with firearm confiscation on conviction, not just a fine. Spend 5 minutes on your state wildlife agency website before you put anything from this video in the field. That is the foundation everything else here sits on. Now, why pancake syrup works? The surface answer is that deer like sweet things. Every forum thread that mentions this product stops right there, which is why the technique gets dismissed as a gimmick by hunters who have not actually tried it. The real explanation has 2 layers underneath, and once you understand both of them, you will never look at the commercial attractant aisle the same way again. The first layer is what artificial maple syrup actually is at the chemistry level. High fructose corn syrup, water, caramel color, and artificial maple flavoring. That maple flavor is primarily a compound called vanillin. Vanillin is not a foreign smell to white-tailed deer. It occurs naturally in oak bark and in the decomposition of acorns on the forest floor. Decomposing white oak mast produces volatile organic acids and simple sugars at the surface as acorns break down over the first few days after they fall. Vanillin is part of that chemical signature. Keep in mind that a whitetail's nose carries roughly 297 million olfactory receptors, about 60 times more than a human. They can detect specific organic compounds at concentrations we cannot register at all. What smells faintly sweet to you when you open that bottle smells like a massed event, from 200 yards to a deer downwind on a calm morning. When a deer encounters a fresh acorn mass site, it is reading vanillin at a higher concentration as part of the signal that significant food is present. When you pour pancake syrup over a stump or mineral block, you are introducing that compound at a concentration high enough to register as a major massed event. The deer is not being casually curious. It is responding with the same urgency it would bring to a fresh mass drop. You have had that September morning where you find a white oak dropping hard, fresh sign everywhere underneath it, scrapes opened overnight, tracks pressed deep into the soft dirt. A spot that looks like 10 deer worked it all night. That tree is producing exactly that chemical signature. Pancake syrup produces enough of the same compounds to trigger the same urgency in a deer standing 200 yards from the nearest white oak. The second layer running parallel to the vanillin is the fructose and glucose signal. In the 6 weeks leading into the rut, bucks shift into aggressive caloric loading. Research on whitetail seasonal physiology shows bucks increase daily food intake by 30 to 40% in the weeks before peak breeding activity. As they build the fat reserves, the rut will burn through entirely. A buck in late September is not eating out of habit. He is eating with a biological urgency that does not exist the same way in August or December. The caloric density signal from the concentrated simple sugars and pancake syrup hits that channel in a way that dry attractants and pure scent products simply do not. That combination of vanillin and concentrated simple sugars arriving together in the same scent plume is what produces the response levels the forum hunters are documenting. I will say plainly that I have not found a university study confirming this specific mechanism. What I do have is trail camera data and independent forum reports from hunters across more than a decade, all describing the same pattern. A wildlife biologist would want better controlled conditions before endorsing this interpretation. What I can say with confidence is that the effect is real and repeatable based on what the cameras consistently show. That chemistry and what it does to deer behavior around a mineral site is exactly the kind of thing I organized in the Buck Hunter's Bible, along with 76 other field-tested techniques, each with the biology behind it and the exact application method, so you understand what you are doing and why. There is a full section on attractant setups by season phase, stand placement by terrain type, all 3 rut phases with distinct tactics for each, and a pre-hunt reference card in the back you can print and take to the stand. Link is in the description below, or if you are watching on TV, pull out your phone and scan the QR code on screen. The come here deer problem deserves its own section because it is the clearest illustration of what has been happening in the commercial attractant market for a long time. And as take a gallon of come here deer off the shelf at Cabela's. It runs between $40 and $50. Read the ingredient panel: rice bran, sweet grain compounds, syrup derivatives. Multiple hunters on Archery Talk and Hunting Net posted the same observation independently over more than a decade. Open a bottle of Khmer deer and smell it. Then open a bottle of table syrup. The smell is essentially identical. One poster on Hunting Net said it plainly: if you paid $50 a gallon for Khmer deer, you will like this at 50 cents a gallon. Give it a sniff. It smells just like diluted table syrup. Yes, another hunter confirmed it from the opposite direction. He set up Khmer deer side by side with diluted store-brand pancake syrup on 2 stumps in the same hardwood draw, and found deer working both sites with equal frequency on his trail camera across 3 weeks in October. Now, do the math. 2 bottles of commercial sweet attractant a season at $40, a bottle is close to $1,600 spent over a 20-year hunting career. The active compound driving the deer response has been on the shelf at your grocery store for $1.25 the entire time. Nobody lied to you exactly. They packaged a kitchen ingredient in camo and sold it back to you at a significant markup. My wallet has very strong opinions about this. The forum data on the mineral block applications confirms the effect is real across multiple properties and states. The Kentucky Hunter's 36-buck result came from a dollar store Clover Valley bottle poured over a red mineral block that deer were already visiting. An Archery Talk poster drills small holes in the tops of standard salt blocks, fills and surrounds the holes with cheap maple syrup, and reports those blocks disappearing 4 to 5 times faster than untreated ones. He had 1 salt block eat down to bare ground within 4 weeks, which is roughly the time it takes most of us to finish a single bag of deer corn. A poster on the Missouri Whitetails forum described pouring a mix of cheap pancake syrup and peanut butter over a fallen log spread in a long line, not a single pile. Dispersing the application along the log extends the scent range and keeps deer moving along it instead of crowding at a single point. He said deer returned to that log repeatedly across the entire season. A bow sight poster, who had been running the same setup for 2 seasons, said it beat Khmer deer by a significant margin on his camera and that the ground around his blind was beaten bare by deer traffic. One more forum confirmation worth hearing directly. A Hunting Net poster diluted pancake syrup in warm water, a pint of syrup per gallon, exactly the application method shown in Khmer deer commercials, poured it over corn, and had deer on it by the first evening. His exact words were that it works the same. Those are 5 independent hunters on different properties in different states across different years, describing the same result. Now, the mature buck problem, which is where most hunters drop the ball with any new attractant. The Kentucky hunter who got 36 photos got them almost entirely from younger deer, spikes, 2.5-year class animals, does with fawns. The reference video I used as a starting point for this research confirmed the same pattern: immediate, heavy deer traffic that skewed hard toward does and younger bucks. Mature deer, the 4.5-year class and older, came in nocturnal, or did not commit at all. Mature deer do not investigate new stimuli immediately. They scent check from distance, sometimes from 60 to 80 yards downwind, which is roughly 2/3 the length of a football field, and they wait to see whether the new thing becomes part of the normal landscape before they commit to approaching it. If a mature buck has never smelled pancake syrup on that stump before, the strongest scent column in the woods is also the most unfamiliar thing in the woods. Unfamiliar registers as potential threat before it registers as food. You have had that sit where a mature deer came in from downwind, hit something in the air it did not recognize, and stood at 60 yards for 2 full minutes doing nothing before turning and walking away without ever giving you a shot. That is exactly this mechanism. The attractant worked. The timing eliminated the opportunity. A hunter I know, who runs a small operation in Adams County, Ohio, that's the hill country along the Ohio River, where the oak ridges and deep hollows hold mature deer in pockets that see very little pressure. It started putting pancake syrup on his mineral blocks 6 weeks before the opening of gun season, not during the season, before the season. Every week through August and into early September, he poured a fresh bottle over the same block. By the 4th week, a wide-framed 8-pointer that had only been showing on camera after midnight for the previous 2 summers was coming in at 5:45 in the afternoon. By week 6, when gun season opened, that deer's guard was completely down at that location. The stump smelled like every other morning of his summer. Nothing new, nothing threatening, just the spot he had been coming to consistently. The hunter killed that deer on opening morning at 22 yards broadside, roughly the distance from home plate to the pitcher's rubber on a regulation baseball diamond, all because the buck walked straight to the block without pausing to scent check the area. The 6-week conditioning window is the technique. The syrup is just the ingredient. Without the preseason setup, you are introducing the strongest food signal on your property right when deer are already on alert from the first hunters moving through the landscape, and mature animals will respond to it only after dark. Start in August. Pour weekly. Let the site become boring before you hunt it. The application method affects how long the site stays productive between visits. 3 approaches come up consistently in the forum data. Straight pour over an existing mineral block or salt block, 1 bottle soaked in from the top, is the fastest setup and what produced the 36 buck result in Kentucky. Diluted in warm water, a pint of syrup in a gallon jug poured over corn or bare ground or a stump, is the Khmer deer method using the same active compound at a fraction of the cost. And scent drag, soaking a cotton rag in undiluted syrup and dragging it on a cord behind you for the last 100 yards of your walk to the stand, creates a trail that leads deer from the travel corridor directly into your shooting lane. Run the drag on your approach trail, then hang a cotton ball soaked in syrup about 4 feet off the ground, roughly chest height on a whitetail, at 20 yards from your stand. That is roughly the width of a 2-car garage, including the driveway. On my best sites using the drag method, deer came in nose down, working the ground scent trail the way a bird dog works a field, committed and moving without hesitation. The failure conditions matter as much as the method itself. Warm, early season temperatures above 70 degrees. The liquid evaporates faster than it disperses useful scent. Insects find the site within a couple of hours, and deer response drops significantly. Wait for consistent cool mornings before you put it out. On properties adjacent to standing cornfields or unharvested soybean fields during active feeding periods, you cannot compete with 100 acres of standing grain. Once harvest brings the field down, usually October across most of the Midwest, the food source disappears overnight and your mineral block becomes the strongest caloric signal available on the property. Time your setup to the harvest window, and you have deer searching for a new food reference right when you are providing one. On heavily pressured public land where mature deer have learned to associate unfamiliar food signals in areas with regular human foot traffic with danger, scent-based approaches without the food component tend to perform better. The behavioral calculus on pressured public ground is different enough that this technique is better saved for private property where deer pressure is lower. Everything in this video, along with the full mineral site system, the seasonal timing breakdown, and the stand placement principles that turn a mineral location into a consistent hunting setup, are in the Buck Hunter's Bible, 90 pages with a pre-hunt reference card in the back. Link in the description, QR code on screen. The DIY lick brick runs about $3 total and outlasts any commercial block I have put out. The recipe confirmed across multiple threads on Bo's site and the Missouri Whitetails forum. Deer corn, 1 jar of cheap peanut butter, 16 to 18 ounces of pancake syrup, 1 cup of livestock salt from the feed store, and a pound of cornmeal. Spray the inside of a 5-gallon plastic bucket with non-stick cooking spray first, which is what lets the finished brick release without breaking apart. Mix the dry ingredients in a large tote. Coat everything with the syrup and peanut butter blended together. Add the salt. Pack the mixture back into the oiled bucket as tightly as you can, and put the bucket somewhere that gets seriously hot for a few days. A parked truck cab on a summer afternoon works. An attic in July works. The heat cures it hard. When you take it to the field, flip the bucket and slam it on the ground. The brick pops out in one piece. Total ingredient cost is around $3 buying store brands. One poster, who had been making these for 3 seasons, said his most productive brick site had deer working it so consistently by week 4 that he moved a stand-in specifically to hunt that location. Multiple hunters confirmed that adding a packet of grape or strawberry jello to the dry mix before packing extends the scent draw radius beyond what syrup alone reaches. The fruit powder disperses on thermals differently than the heavier syrup compounds, which creates a layered scent profile with more range on calm mornings when thermals are weak. My wife found the syrup and peanut butter containers I had left on the counter after putting my first batch together, and went through several possible explanations before landing on the right one. She was not fully satisfied with my description of what was happening. The trail camera the following week made my case more clearly than I could have in that conversation. One thing to address directly, because it will come up in comments. Raccoons, coyotes, and bears will also respond to pancake syrup. This is a food attractant, and food brings everything with a nose. On properties with heavy raccoon pressure, the site will be cleaned out by morning, and not much will be left for deer by daylight. The fix most hunters use is a drip container hung at height rather than application directly on the ground. Take an old plastic bottle, drill small holes near the bottom, fill it with syrup, and hang it 4 feet up from a branch. It drips slowly, keeps the site active without dumping everything at once. And raccoons have considerably more trouble reaching a hanging point than a ground pile. In bear country, skip food attractants entirely. Black bears across the Appalachians and Great Lakes states will establish a sweet site as a regular food location, and once they do, the site is done for the rest of your season. If bears are a realistic part of your landscape, stay with scent-based setups and save the pancake syrup approach for areas without significant bear populations. The hunters who know about this do not usually bring it up at deer camp, not because it is a secret, but because it sounds like advice from someone who has never held a rifle. $1.25 at Walmart, poured over a mineral block you already own, with 6 weeks of consistent weekly applications before season opens. That is the whole system. When the mature buck that was going fully nocturnal all summer shows up at 22 yards on opening morning because that stump smelled like every other morning of his summer, you will have a decision to make when someone at camp asks how you found him. Whether you mention the log cabin bottle is entirely up to you.